Welcome, Spud Nation, to another episode of the Sports Couch. We have a big episode today. It's our first fantasy football show. Get ready for that. It should be an exciting Sunday. Watch all your favorite players, support your fantasy teams, and we'll go from there. Today was a big Saturday in the college sports world. We're going to start out Coach Master's picks. My picks, I went 3-1 today. Darn you, Oklahoma. You really stuck it to my boys from Florida State. I picked Florida State to win, and you came out and you smacked them right in the mouth. Oklahoma looked deserving of a top 10 college team. They played well. Florida State didn't show up at all. Oklahoma gets the win. South Carolina played well. They got me another prediction correct. Ohio State looked very tough. And Alabama, your consensus number one team in the country, looked great. So Spud Nation, I am now 7-1 overall for my college picks. Stick with me. We will continue to dominate the predicting world. So, let's move along. Let's get to what we wanted to talk about today. We have our fantasy show going on. Week 1 of the fantasy football world. It should be great. You'll get my NFL picks. You will also get my fantasy plays, who you should play, who you should stay away from. A couple sleepers thrown in there. Spud Nation, keep hitting up Facebook. We reached the 100 friend plateau today. That's awesome. Keep it going. Keep being a fan. Keep being a friend. Also, keep the emails coming in. Now is the time to use me. We have fantasy football questions. I'm here to answer them. I'll either answer them on the show or I will send you an email in return. I will answer your questions though. Also, keep up Twitter. Keep staying with us. Keep this thing going. We'll start out today. I got an email. Mike emailed in. Had a question. He can start 3 receivers in his fantasy league. He's got 4 guys that he felt were worthy of discussion. Hakeem Nicks, Steve Smith of the Giants, Malcolm Floyd of the Chargers, and Massaquoi of the Browns. Flat out, you have 3 solid guys that I would take to the bank. Hakeem Nicks, start him. Steve Smith, start him. And Malcolm Floyd, who is the number 1 in San Diego, start him. Leave Massaquoi at home. Let him sit. You got 3 solid guys. Feel confident in those starts. Go with that. Moving on. First game we're going to discuss. Miami versus Buffalo. Give the Dolphins the nod. It is in Buffalo, but the Dolphins will win. They have Ronnie Brown, who is a must fantasy play. Fantasy owners of Ronnie Brown, start him. Also, Brandon Marshall. I'm sure a lot of you went out, got him high in drafts. Start him. Henny's going to look to target him a lot. Brandon Marshall's a good play against Buffalo. And the Bills, who don't have very many weapons. CJ Spiller had an excellent preseason. Give him the nod, fantasy owners. CJ Spiller, start him. Go ahead. Next game. The Detroit Lions are going into Chicago, and I am going to give Detroit a victory. I like what they've done. Much improved defensive line. Detroit just looks good. A lot of offensive weapons. The guys you should start from Detroit, Matthew Stafford. I'm expecting him to have a huge year this year, so why not get it started against the Bears? Go ahead, start Megatron as well. That's going to be a connection you're going to hear all year long. Calvin Johnson is a must start. He's one of the top 2 receivers in all of football. Start him. And Jahvid Best. A lot of the fantasy world is really excited about this kid. Go ahead, start him. At any moment, Best could break a big-time run for a touchdown. You'll get those extra yardage points for over 50-yard touchdowns. Start Best. Feel good about it. For the Bears, I give them 2 sleepers. Johnny Knox, who hasn't proven anything yet, but everyone's blowing him up big time. Johnny Knox is a sleeper play, and also Chester Taylor. I think Chester Taylor is going to come out of the gates swinging. He'll play a lot of third downs. He's a nice change of pace back. Around the goal line, he's going to be a beast. I see Chester Taylor getting in the end zone. So those are my 2 sleeper plays. Stay away from Jay Cutler and Matt Forte. Moving on. Indianapolis goes into Houston, and Indy's going to win. Indy is a fantasy owner's dream. They have Peyton Manning. He's a must start. Start him every week. Pierre Garçon and Reggie Wayne. 2 very, very capable receivers. When you have a quarterback like Peyton Manning, they're must starts. Start them both. Go ahead. And the last but not least guy from Indy, Dallas Clark. He might be Peyton Manning's favorite target. Dallas Clark is sure to find the end zone. He's a great play. Start him. And when you think about the Houston Texans and fantasy value, Matt Schaub and Andre Johnson, one of the premier connections in all of football. Start them both. If you have them both, that's a great combo, great 1-2 punch. I see Johnson 100 yards, touchdown. Just a great play, and we all know Schaub is very capable. So we go to Denver. Denver playing the Jags in Jacksonville. I don't see very much fantasy production out of this game. I go ahead, start Noshawn Moreno, and obviously owners of Maurice Jones-Drew, start him. He's a top 5 running back. Start him. He'll get you points. Beyond that, I don't see much coming out of the Denver-Jacksonville game. Denver is my pick to win that game, though. The next game should be a fun one to watch and fun for all fantasy owners. Cincinnati is going into New England. Yes, should be a lot of scoring, a lot of firepower. The guys that you want to start, especially for New England, you have Tom Brady, Randy Moss. That connection right there is guaranteed points. Tom Brady is a must start every week. Doesn't matter who he's playing. Randy Moss, one of the best receivers in the game. Start him. Wes Welker, I would also give the nod to. He's coming off that knee surgery. Go ahead, play him. Wes Welker is tremendous in the slot. He's a great possession receiver. Start him. Now from Cincinnati, we have Ocho Cinco. Start Ocho, start Cedric Benson. Both are going to be solid plays against New England. Ocho obviously is the number 1 guy. With T.O. getting more coverage, more people paying attention to him on defense, Ocho's going to see some passes. He'll probably find pay dirt this week. And Benson, we all know Cincinnati loves to pound the ball, and Benson is their guy. 2 sleepers I see in this game. The Patriots, their tight end Gronkowski. Keep an eye on him, especially for further games. This game, obviously, they like to involve their tight end. We'll see how big of a role Gronkowski gets to play. And the sleeper for Cincinnati, Jermaine Gresham. I am very big on this guy. He's a rookie, but he is a tremendous target for Carson Palmer. Go ahead and roll the dice with either of those 2. New England wins that game. Next game, Carolina versus the New York Giants. I see the Giants winning at home. They have Eli Manning, Hakeem Nicks, Steve Smith. All are must starts. I'd start them all. I'd feel great about starting them. Hakeem Nicks is set to have a huge year. If he avoids injury, he's going to have a monster year. Go ahead, start those 3. And for Carolina, all you can say is D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart. They're 2-headed running back monster. Start them both. Spud Nation, if you even have the luxury of having both of them on your team, I'd give them both the nod. You never know what you're going to get with either of those 2. D'Angelo is going to be fighting for carries all year long, so keep an eye on that situation. But in week 1, D'Angelo is going to get his touches, and they're both going to get their carries. And Carolina, with a very young quarterback, they're going to pound the ball. So keep an eye on that situation, but give them both the nod in week 1. Now, there's a major question mark. You're probably all wondering, well, what about Brandon Jacobs? What about Ahmad Bradshaw? What do you do with them, folks? Do you give the nod to Jacobs, have him get his 15 or 10 carries for 15 yards? He could be a complete bust. I would let week 1 go by with him on your bench. Same thing for Bradshaw. Let them sort out their running back dilemma and give yourself some traction. You don't want to start out the fantasy year losing week 1. So start off the year with both those guys on the bench. Don't get overhyped with either of them and figure that situation out. And the sleeper I have in Carolina is Dwayne Jarrett. Keep an eye on him. If you have him on your bench, if you have the possibility of starting 3 receivers, slip him in there in the number 3 slot. I could see him being a great red zone target, see him catching touchdowns. He's a big, tall, lanky receiver. Keep your eye on that. Next, the game, Atlanta versus Pittsburgh. Atlanta's going to get the victory. Pittsburgh, obviously without Big Ben, not much of a passing game going to happen. Although Dennis Dixon, a very athletic quarterback, I just don't see him getting the job done. The guys you must start for Atlanta, Matt Ryan, Roddy White. Those two are going to be a great combo this year. Matt Ryan, he's getting more and more comfortable every year. He's set to have a big year, and Roddy White is always a successful receiver. And the man in the backfield, Michael Turner. This guy is going to have a monster year. Start him every week. You need him in your lineup. If you got lucky enough to draft him, plug him in. You know he was a first-round pick. Start him and feel good about him. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, all I got for you this week is Rashard Mendenhall. Hopefully they pound the ball a lot. They're going to rely a lot on their run. So look for Mendenhall to have a decent game. He'll probably find the end zone, probably hit the 100-yard mark, but give Atlanta the nod. Next is a battle of powerhouses. Cleveland versus Tampa. I'm giving Tampa the nod here just because Cleveland is so horrible. Both these teams are not very good, but we're going to go ahead and give Tampa the win at home, and we'll see just how crappy Cleveland is. The only guy I can see considering even starting in Cleveland is Jerome Harrison. If you have better options, start the better options. If you're stuck with Harrison as one of your starting running backs, go out there, make a trade, or hope someone gets hurt and pick up that backup in free agency, because it's going to be a long year for you if Harrison's one of your top running backs. For Tampa Bay, I'm big on Mike Williams. Start Mike Williams. He's going to be their number 1 receiver. He's their go-to guy. When they score through the air, it's going to be through him. And start Cadillac Williams. Cadillac, he'll come in, he'll run hard. Go ahead. Next game. The new and improved Oakland Raiders are going into Tennessee, and I say they're taking a victory home with them. The Oakland Raiders are going to get their first victory of the year in week 1. I know it's coming against a very formidable Tennessee team, but I love what Oakland's done. Go ahead. Oakland's your winner. Obviously, start Chris Johnson. He was either the first or second pick in your fantasy football drafts. Start him. You invested a lot in him. Go ahead. Start him and feel good about it. And I see the Raiders having a sleeper this week in Louis Murphy. Chaz Schillings is hurt, so go ahead. See Louis Murphy. He'll probably get in the end zone and have the most receiving yards on that team. No Michael Bush this week. Darren McFadden, he's an iffy play. Make him prove something to you before you slot him as your starting running back. Green Bay Packers versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Packers are going to go into Philly and win this game. They're going to put up big numbers. The Packers are starting out their Super Bowl run this year in Philly, winning that game, scoring a lot of points. Packers, you Packer owners out there in the fantasy world, start Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be the man in fantasy football this year. He's my fantasy MVP prediction. Start him. start his targets. Jermichael Finley, you got to start Greg Jennings as well. Both of them are solid picks. Both will score touchdowns. Finley was probably a stretch in a lot of your fantasy drafts, so you are well invested in him. Start him. And Ryan Grant, he is a touchdown scoring machine. He doesn't look like much. He doesn't look flashy. He doesn't do anything. But he finishes every game with 100 yards and a touchdown. So go ahead, start Ryan Grant. For you Philadelphia Eagles owners, Deshaun Jackson is the one start that I see you guys making. Start Deshaun Jackson. He's always got that big play capability. And with as high as he was rated this year, you probably reached pretty high to pick him. I see two sleepers in this game. For the Packers, James Jones. I'm very high on this guy. Slot him in. If you have the option of the 3 receivers starting, James Jones is a great play. He'll see a lot of passes, a lot of catches. He could have that possibility of hitting the end zone. And for the Eagles, Brent Selleck. Yes, he's a tight end. He could be a great play. Him and Kevin Cobb are roommates. Great relationship there. He's a good target for a young quarterback. And my bust for this game, stay away from him, LaShawn McCoy. Yes, he is Philly's featured running back, but he's going up against the feisty Packers defense. It's going to be a tough game. Philadelphia is going to play from behind most of the game, so stay away. If you have a better play than him, use him. Arizona versus the St. Louis Rams at the Rams Stadium. I'm gonna give the nod to the Rams. They're gonna start the season all right. They're gonna get a victory. Arizona is in shambles. They don't have a quarterback. It's just an awful situation. For St. Louis, I really like Sam Bradford. I know rookie quarterbacks don't always put up huge numbers, but this guy is accurate. He's great out of the pocket. Doesn't have the greatest receivers, but he'll get the job done fantasy-wise. Take a look at Sam Bradford. It's a good matchup because Arizona is pretty soft. So go ahead, start Sam Bradford. The guy you're going to want to check out for the Rams receiving core is Laurent Robinson. He's going to be their number one guy. Just take a peek at him. He'll be a sleeper pick. Not a lot of people know about him. Not a lot of people think highly of him because he is a Ram. But go ahead, give him a nod. Pick him up before week 1 because when he blows up in week 1, you know how the fantasy waiver wires work. Everyone's going to be running out to get this guy. So check out your free agent wire. Pick him up. It's a safe pick. He's a number 1 receiver with a great quarterback. So go out, find him, use him. And last but not least, Steven Jackson for the Rams. You probably took him as a high pick. Use him. He'll get a ton of touches, ton of receptions. Hopefully he finds the end zone this year. And Steven Jackson owners, you guys will feel a lot better about selecting him as high as you did. For the Cardinals, the only guy that I can say pick up is Larry Fitzgerald. Start him. Obviously, he's a top 5 wide receiver talent. Let's just hope he has someone relatively capable of throwing him the ball. I know Derek Anderson is a starter. We'll see how long that lasts. Poor Fitzgerald, I feel bad for you. I wish they would trade you to a decent team. The 2 busts that I would say watch out for, fantasy owners, Beanie Wells and Tim Hightower. Right now it's still a battle in Arizona for the starting job. They're leaning towards Hightower getting a lot of carries. Who knows how it's going to shape up, but if you invested a lot into Beanie Wells, good luck to you. You just have to watch that situation, let it play out. Hopefully you have a better play in week 1. The next game, San Francisco 49ers are going into Seattle to play one of the worst teams in the league in the Seahawks. The 49ers are going to walk away with a victory. 49ers owners, Frank Gore is a must start. Vernon Davis, who is now the highest paid tight end in the league, is a must start. And Michael Crabtree. I love Crabtree. He's our number 1 receiver. Alex Smith is a much improved quarterback. Start Crabtree. He'll be a solid fantasy player this year. And my sleeper for the 49ers is Alex Smith. I project him to have a good year. It's a great start against the Seattle bunch who isn't very good. So give Alex Smith the nod if you have him. If he is slotted as your number 2 quarterback and your number 1 quarterback has a tough matchup, think about giving Alex Smith the nod. He's got great weapons, and he's playing a pretty poor Seattle team. For Seattle, all I see is a sleeper in Mike Williams. I love the guy, great comeback story. He just doesn't have anyone throwing him the ball. Matt Hasselbeck era hopefully is over after this season. It's just going to be a struggle all year long. And I would stay away from that horrendous Seattle running back situation where Leon Washington, Justin Forsett, and the awful, awful Julius Jones are all in the backfield and are all going to split carries. It's like the bad fighting the bad back there. I hope you don't own any of them. Fantasy owners, if you do, pray that something better opens up on the free agent wire. 49ers beat Seattle. Next game, big matchup, Dallas versus the Washington Redskins. Dallas is going to go into Washington and wreck Donovan McNabb's debut for the Redskins. Dallas is just too good of a team for the Redskins to handle. They have 2 must-plays in the running back, Felix Jones, who is the starter, and Marion Barber, who is the goal line bruiser. Start them both. Tony Romo and his number 1 receiver, and Miles Austin. Give them both the nod. The guy I would stay away from is Roy Williams. He is a bust. And Jason Witten I'd stay away from in this game as well. So look for Romo, Miles Austin, Felix Jones, and Marion Barber to all be solid fantasy plays. And for the Redskins, McNabb's going to be very jacked up. I would give him the nod. He'll have a decent game. And Clinton Portis as well. Give them both the start in the fantasy world. Moving on, Monday night is going to be a huge night of football. It should be fun to watch. 2 primetime games, starting with the Ravens at the Jets. The Jets are a revamped team. They're all jacked, ready to play. They got the Island Man, Darrelle Revis, is back. Thank goodness. It'll give Bolden a little competition out there. I'm giving the win to the Ravens, even though it is in the Jets stadium. Ravens just added too much firepower on offense. Their defense is always solid. We're going to go with starting Flacco. He's going to have big numbers this year just by the addition of the 2 solid wide receivers that he got. And give Bolden the start. I know he's going up against Revis. Let's see how rusty he is. And lastly, start Ray Rice. Ray Rice is a must-play every week. Catches the ball out of the backfield, runs hard. He'll find the end zone. Now for the Jets, start Sean Green, just a solid running back. Going to see a lot of carries. The Jets love to pound the ball. And also I think Dustin Keller is going to be a safe play this week. Sanchez doesn't have Santonio Holmes on the outside. Dustin Keller is a very, very talented tight end. Look for Sanchez to find him, and look for him to find the end zone as well. The sleepers in this game, Willis McGahee. He's a touchdown scoring machine. He loves to steal Ray Rice's touchdowns. Look for McGahee to find the end zone. And also look for LaDainian Tomlinson. Look and see what role he plays in the Jets scheme this year. I see him having an impactful game. He'll catch the ball out of the backfield, and whether or not he finds the end zone, I do not know. But CLT, he'll get his carries, he'll get his catches. He's still a solid player. And the last game of the week, the Chargers versus the Chiefs. The Chargers are going to go into Kansas City and take this victory from them. They're just a more superior team to the Chiefs. Obviously, you start Phillip Rivers. Ryan Matthews is a guy who shot up into the first round in every fantasy football draft. So you have to start Ryan Matthews. A lot of Ryan Matthews owners are banking their season on him. So feel good going into Kansas City. Matthews should put up a huge game. And look for Antonio Gates. Antonio Gates, one of the top tight ends, very athletic, one of Phillip Rivers' favorite targets. And for the Chiefs, look for Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles is a monster back. Whether or not he finds the end zone is to be seen. I'm not sure how many touchdowns Kansas City is going to score this year, but Jamal Charles will be the lone bright spot for a poor Chiefs team. Couple sleepers I have. Malcolm Floyd, number 1 receiver for the Chargers. Look for him to get the ball. Look for him to get it often. And Floyd has the speed to break it big at any time. Be confident in starting Floyd. And also, for the Chiefs, Dwayne Bowe and Dexter McCluster. McCluster is kind of a jack of all trades. He'll do it all. Receiver, running back. They'll use him all over the place. Super fast, athletic, can break it at any time. Look for him to have a decent game. Also, Dwayne Bowe, number 1 in Kansas City. Let's see if Castle can find his form for when he played at the Patriots. Spud Nation, that's the rundown. That's our fantasy show for Sunday morning. If you have questions, email me before game time. I will help you with any fantasy predicament you have. Email me, craig@thesportscoach.com. Keep those friend requests coming on Facebook. Be a fan. Keep following on Twitter. And enjoy week 1 of the NFL football season. Enjoy fantasy week number 1 as well. Let's all start out with wins in week 1, Spud Nation. Here we go. Till our recap show. Enjoy your games, and we'll see you then.